Hi friends, it's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in January and February of 2025. This year we're trying something new yet again with the monthly wrap-up / recent read videos. I did monthly wrap-ups on this channel for many years, and then in the last couple of years my reading just hasn't been of the volume to support that many monthly wrap-ups. So I transitioned to recent reads where I would read 5 books and then talk about them on my channel. But I felt like I had a hard time keeping track of when I had hit 5 and how long it had been since the last 5. This year we're trying bi-monthly wrap-ups, so I'll do 6 throughout the year and just see how it goes. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. So the first book that I read in January, first book of 2025, what I kicked off my reading year with, is The House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. I believe this is the conclusion. From everywhere that I've seen online, it sounds like this is the final book in this series, or at least in this arc of this series. I would be really content if this is the end of the series and we don't have to go back to this world ever again, because it's just not personally my favorite Sarah J. Maas world, stories, character, what have you. I did film a reading vlog for this and I'll link it on the screen. It is probably the longest video I've ever uploaded to my channel. It's like over an hour long, and that's because this book is massive. But interestingly enough, it's not as long as Kingdom of Ash. It felt longer. It's not as long, but it felt longer. Just like the way that it's written and the way that the characters behave, I felt every one of those 800 pages in a way that I didn't feel reading Kingdom of Ash, which is like, I think over 1,000 pages. And I do find this book series to be particularly challenging to pitch. It's hard for me to like summarize it, so I'm going to use the help of Goodreads and do that now. A little convoluted. So Bryce Quinlan's our main character, and she's had the perfect life. She works all day and she parties all night. That is until a demon murdered one of her closest friends, leaving her essentially alone. When the accused person who murders her friend is behind bars, but the crimes start up again, Bryce finds herself at the heart of the investigation. She'll do whatever it takes to avenge their deaths. And then we also have the main male character, Hunt, who is a notorious fallen angel now enslaved to the archangels he once attempted to overthrow. His brutal skills and incredible strength have been set to one purpose: assassinate his boss's enemies, no questions asked. With a demon wreaking havoc in the city, he's offered an irresistible deal: help Bryce find the murderer and his freedom will be within reach. So as Bryce and Hunt dig deeper into Crescent City's underbelly, they discover a dark power that threatens everything and everyone they hold dear, and they find in each other a blazing passion, one that could set them both free, if only they'd let it. Reading that, there's some things in there that I wouldn't even think to include in a synopsis, but I feel like that sums it up really well. We do have these 2 main characters who are kind of thrust together in a unlikely relationship at the beginning of the novel, trying to solve these crimes. And like, I forget that the first book is like a crime murder mystery plot because the next 2 installments are like so not that. The series fell short for me in some ways that her other series haven't thus far. Did not find the characters to be as captivating or as endearing as the characters in her other series. Not even the cast of characters so much as like the main character. I feel like Bryce is an archetype of a very particular woman, written in a way that I think Sarah J. Maas thinks those women behave. Like, I don't think Sarah J. Maas is this woman, but I think she kind of wants to be, or she wants to believe that she is. And so the way that she wrote this, like, just didn't feel super authentic. You know how when you read a book and it's very obvious that the author has inserted themselves as the main character? I feel like Throne of Glass is very obviously that, because she wrote those books at such a young age. And I feel like when you write a book at 16, that's like a natural thing to insert yourself as the main character. But this felt more like she wants to be this character but isn't. It's just like a really weird dynamic that I have with Bryce. And there was something about Hunt that just did not do it for me the way that Rowan and Reese have. And even like Dorian and Kale and Cassie and like all of those male characters just like felt more of a lot of things compared to Hunt. I personally don't think that there's a whole lot of chemistry between Hunt and Bryce, or like a reason why these 2 are so obsessed with each other. And I think it's just like maybe the time in which we explore their relationship, like they're pretty heavily together very early on. And there's not like this like push and pull or like this drive between them throughout the series, the way that like Rowan and Reese and their love interests have to like work over several books to get to that end result. You know, like it's like a bit more of a payoff. It's a slower burn. Also, as a conclusion, it didn't hit me in the feels the way that a Sarah J. Maas conclusion really can. Main characters didn't really ever feel like they were in true danger. And for adult novel, which is supposed to be marketed as an adult novel, I feel like we should be concerned of them dying. Also a moment in here that I call the Leia a la The Last Jedi scene, which is one of my least favorite Star Wars scenes to ever exist. So the fact that that was in this book, I think I like lost all sense of consciousness. Like I think my eyes were just reading words, but nothing was actually happening in my brain because I was so in disbelief that this was actually happening on this page. And I feel like for that alone, I wanted to dock a whole star from this book. I just feel that this series needed a whole lot more editing and a lot more like tightness and a lot more trimming down of some superficial like fat. I understand how we got here compared to like her first books of her other series. Like I understand how we are here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's okay. So I would just like editors to actually edit books and make things flow better, make them paste better, make them more like sensical from a plot point, you know, world building or whatever. And so although it sounds like I did not enjoy this book and I had qualms with it, which I did, I still did like have a good time reading this and I still enjoyed my experience. And so for that, I have to give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I finished in 2025 was It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han, which is the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. And I gave this book a whole 2 stars. If you watched my review for the first book, I didn't enjoy it. There's no reason why I should have continued, but I don't know, something in my little, brain tells me I need to read it before I watch the TV adaptation. So that's why I continued. I really wanted to watch season 2 of the show, so I must read book 2 of the series. I am so not the target audience for this novel, and I would recommend this only to 16-year-olds from 2009. Like, I don't even think 16-year-olds of 2025 would enjoy this. Like, this is dated YA. I feel like 16-year-olds deserve more than this book. In this series, we are following our main character named Belly. Her and her brother and her mom have always gone to her mom's best friend's summer cottage, summer lake house, ocean house. I mean, it's very rich and opulent, so I don't know that it's like a cottage exactly. Belly is 15 into 16 in the first novel, and she's always had this crush on her mom's best friend's son, Conrad. The Summer I Turned Pretty is finally the year that she like grows into maturity or like adulthood or like blossoms as a teenager, and Conrad finally acknowledges that she's pretty. And so they have a little bit of a thing going on, but then also she is pursuing a relationship with his younger brother, Jeremiah, too. Very typical 2000s love triangle, 2 brothers, 1 girl, all vying for each other's love and attention. I don't really read a lot of YA contemporary, and I haven't in a long time, especially not backlist from like this long ago. But this is, as I mentioned, so of its time. The writing is so simplistic. The plot is simplistic. The emotions of our main character are simplistic. I don't think teenagers are this simple-minded as Belly makes them out to be. And I think we don't get them enough credit, as I mentioned. Even in 2009, like I feel like teenagers had more thoughts than this. Belly has one default mode. She feels sorry for herself because the boy doesn't act the way that she imagines he should. So she's constantly mad at other people for their reactions to her behavior. And she never realizes that it's like her behavior. And I get she's 16 and I get that's like a really big girl thing to realize, but she kind of just gets pulled along throughout the plot and serves as a plot device in her own narrative. Like, she doesn't have any agency, really. Like, she just kind of gets shoved from one thing to the next, and we just follow her having 2 thoughts of I love Conrad and I hate Conrad, and it like alternates between the two. And this book has some very heavy topics. We have loss of a parent, we have grief, we have teenagers trying to navigate their life and freedom and like what it means to be teenagers who have lost parents, who have experienced grief, or like seeing their parents go through divorce. And again, all Belly can think about is Conrad, this one boy. And I'm like, you have so many bigger things in your life, and so do these boys, and so does your mom, and so do their parents, and like all you care about is him. Like, it just feels so selfish and so self-centered. And I imagine that 16-year-olds care more about other people than what like Belly makes us believe. I do remember reading To All the Boys I Loved Before and thinking that Lara Jean also sounded very young and very 16. And I even read that when I was younger than I am now, like nearly 10 years ago. But this felt even more extreme in that regard, which kind of makes sense. This came before To All the Boys I Loved Before. But I don't know. I just think we're not owing any of the characters. Like, no one is paying their dues. Like, no one has any like true personality or like true feelings. Like, it's just so one-dimensional. So my recommendation would be to just watch the TV show. It's so filled out. The characters have real feelings. They have real personalities. They have like real conversations and conflict. And Belly is not an insufferable main character. And the side characters have like way more depth to them. They're like, again, actual people, not cardboard cutouts. And the soundtrack is so, so good too. So like, I would highly recommend the TV show on Amazon and just skip the books. You don't need the books to understand the context of the show. The show actually gives you so much more background than the books do. And like, it's not even worth it, in my opinion, to read the books. Will I read the last one though before season 3 comes out? Probably, because I'm crazy and I can't help myself. The last book that I read in January and February of 2025 is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which is my first 5-star book. I don't know, in years? When's the last time I gave a book 5 stars? I don't even know, but I freaking loved this book, which doesn't like wildly surprise me because I love Riley Sager's other novels and I've enjoyed pretty much everything that I've read from him. So I'm not surprised to say that I loved this one as well. So in this novel, we're following kind of a dual timeline situation. We're following a character named Lenora Hope, who at 17 hung her sister with a rope. And it's become like this playground chant. The Hope family has lived in this Oceanside mansion since the 1920s. And in 1929, everyone in her family other than Lenora is murdered. And it's pretty widely believed and accepted that Lenora at 17 murdered her whole family. However, they were never able to prove it. And so she never paid any kind of sentence or like jail time because of it. And ever since that night, she's never left Hope's End. She's never talked to the media. She's become a shut-in and has never left her family home, even though she's denied that she had anything to do with it throughout the entire criminal proceeding. Now we're following our main character as well, Kit, in 1983. And Kit works for a caregiver agency, and she has a little bit of a criminal past with the agency that loses her out on the opportunity to like choose where she's working or like who she's serving. And so she desperately needs a job after some criminal things happen in her life. So she takes the one position that she really can, and that is taking care of Lenora Hope, which again is like this big bad wolf in her town who she has heard about and lived just in the shadow of the mansion for her entire life. She's suddenly in the need of a nurse because her nurse fled in the middle of the night, and Kit steps in to take over the role. However, when Kit gets there, there's a lot of weird things happening at the mansion. Like, she's requested to wear specific uniforms. She's gets to her room and all of the previous nurse's belongings are still there. And so there's just some like weird things happening. Lenora's never allowed outside. She's not allowed to talk to her. And so Kit starts to wonder like what sinister things are actually happening in the house and like what really happened back in the 20s. I love a dual timeline narrative like this. Like two timelines that are happening either, I mean, it could be concurrently and you just have two perspectives, or years apart. But when they are like happening simultaneously and then they're merging together at the end and you get like this big reveal once the two timelines merge, is one of my favorite things ever. I can't think of a way in which I don't love this happening. Like, I love it in mystery thrillers. I love it in fantasy. I love it in romance. I love it in like a second chance romance. Like, I just love the, like, we know there's been something going on, and I'm learning a little bit of it here and there through two different perspectives. And like, I think one is good, but one is not. And like, I don't know. I just love that so much in books. So obviously that was going to make this so much more appealing for me. And I just really enjoyed all of the plot twists. Like, I don't know if I've read a book since like Gone Girl that had this number of plot twists. Like towards the end, I was like, surely that must be all their reveals, right? Like, we can't possibly have another reveal. And then I turned the page and there'd be another reveal. And I was just so shocked by how crazy things were getting. Is it far-fetched and a little hard to believe? Maybe. I don't care. It's a murder mystery thriller story. Like, take that as wild as you want. I don't live in this like notion that a murder mystery or thriller needs to be like believable. Entertain me. That's why I read these. That's like the number one thing that a mystery thriller has to do, is surprise me and entertain me. And that's exactly what this did. I was shocked. I was bewildered. I was on the edge of my seat. And I just really enjoyed this. There were a couple reveals that I felt were planted in a way that you as the reader could like figure it out on your own. And so then you felt really smart when you got to it and you're like, yes, I knew that all along. But then there were other reveals at the very end that I never would have seen coming, that there were like no true like seeds planted for. And all of a sudden you were like, what? Or like maybe there was one seed planted like in the first 50 pages, and how were you going to know that was a seed? You didn't. I absolutely loved this. This is probably my second favorite Riley Sager book. My favorite is still Lock Every Door, but this comes in like very close to being a favorite. Absolutely love this. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. It was a great time. So that's it. Those are the 3 books that I read in January and February of this year so far. It doesn't feel like a whole lot, but I do have to remind myself that this book is 800 pages long and is equivalent to like 2 to 3 books. So that makes me feel a little bit better about my reading goals for this year. But I would love to know if you've read any of these books in the comments down below. Please tell me if you have, and please also follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky, or is it Blue Sky and Instagram? No, Blue Sky and Instagram. I don't remember what side it's on, but one is Instagram and one is Blue Sky. And I feel like you guys know that. So please come follow me on any of those platforms. I'd love to chat with you in the comments down below as well. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I will talk to you guys very soon. I almost forgot that outro. Bye!